holy crap, what is like it was insane. So how did it really feel for you with 09 Quad Stomp? Like,
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Derek Lunsford and Jay Cutler, as Derek appeared on the latest episode of the Cutler cast, and he talked about his journey as a bodybuilder and the first one in the history of the sport to win the title in 2 different divisions, 212 and the open bodybuilding. So before we talk about Derek and what he thinks about this upcoming show and his biggest competition, he really had this fan moment with Jay Cutler when he asked about that legendary Quad Stomp at the 2009 Miss Olympia, and that year Jay became the first man ever to take back his Olympia title after losing it to Dexter Jackson in 2008, which by the way is still a record.
I walk and I had this whole thing where I'd stop and I'd kind of just like, all right, I'm here, you know? So I'd stop and I'd just kind of make eye contact. That was the important thing. Eye contact is really important with the audience, even though you're not looking at anyone because the lights are so bright. That's one thing I would tell. I would never tell, like Samson walks out with his head down. When I walked out and I went through and I could see everyone's look was like, oh shit, you know? And I was just like, this is my time. But I felt so full. But I remember taking my clothes off backstage before I even went out there for that. People were like, what the?
So no matter how many times you listen to Cutler talking about the Olympia 09 and how he dominated the competition that night, you never get tired of hearing that story. So that was a real treat from Jay Cutler, talking about that night again and owning that stage.
Nobody thought I was going to win. So when all these guys, after I won, like, I knew you could do it, buddy. Dude, Phil Heath sat on my podcast and said it really hurt me because these guys would talk so much shit. So, like, it changed my whole mindset on how I kind of, like, receive people's opinions and everything else.
So coming back to Derek and this upcoming Miss Olympia in October. So this statement right here, by the winning Miss Olympia, is very realistic assessment that he knows and the whole bodybuilding world knows that Derek and Hadi, they are most probably going to be number 1 and number 2 again for the 3rd year in a row. And the fight for 3rd place, that could be anyone between Samson Dauda, Nick Walker and Andrew Jack.
Top 3 being potentially the same, or do you think that can anyone else come from the back end?
There's a lot of great guys that still need to qualify for the Olympia this year. So there's always up-and-comers that are challenging for those top spots. As a fan, removing myself as a competitor, I'm hopeful that there's more guys that's just going to make the Olympia more exciting.
So the way Hadi won this year's Arnold, he pretty much solidified himself as the biggest threat to this year's Miss Olympia title and to Derek Lunsford. And actually both these guys share the same thing. Derek is the biggest threat to Hadi Choopan. So both these guys were previously in the 212 class. So Hadi Choopan is just a little taller than Derek. And both these guys have great aesthetics. Now Hadi doesn't have a small waist, but with that vacuum that he brought to this year's Arnold stage, he can create that illusion. And this is gonna be one hell of a battle between these two guys again.
Well, that's how I view it. So I appreciate Hadi and what he brings to the Mr. Olympia and to bodybuilding, to the stage, because it makes me level up. And it's gonna bring the best out of me. And I've heard you say that so many times about Ronnie.
So Derek seemed extremely confident that he has put in the work throughout this year. So this interview was recorded at 15 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia. And Derek was already up more than 5 pounds compared to the same time last year. And the thing is, Derek isn't maxed out yet. He cannot max out because he has that kind of frame. And the fact is, the judges want to see more muscle, more mass on his frame, especially in his quads, and more density in his upper half, especially in his chest and his shoulders.
Like my chest workouts, like pressing movements, and my leg workouts, by far this is the strongest I've ever been. And so I can see in my physique when I do the updates, I send them to Hani, I can tell that there's more thickness in those areas, but also like more density too.
So we know anything can happen on the day of the show. But as of right now, it seems like we're gonna have the same number 1 and number 2 for the 3rd consecutive year. And majority of the bodybuilding experts also believe that. The men's open division at this year's Tampa Pro, that is just hours away now. With John Rosa, he will be looking to get his Olympia qualification. And he has got nothing to hide. So John is saying that he's up 6 pounds. And that is on the day of the show. if he compares himself to his Arnold Classic Ohio and UK version, and he is up 10 pounds compared to last year's Miss Olympia. So that was the start of John's journey with his current coach Patrick Tour, and he has had nothing but great success with him. These guys really have improved from one show to the next, and these guys are very close to winning their first show together today in Tampa. Now, although John is the favorite to win this show, but still the thing is this isn't gonna be an easy win for John, because some of these other guys, like Muhammad Fadha and Vilat, they have very strong front shots and side shots too, but their back is the area where John is gonna be able to expose all these young guys, and that too by quite some margin, because John's back is just on a different level. You guys can see right here, it is looking absolutely nuts. So what's the biggest change in John's physique after he started working with Patrick Tour? So together these guys just figured out the right formula of how to get fully shredded and insanely peeled. So expect nothing less than that from John tonight as well. Next up we have a 10 weeks out physique update of Rafael Brandao. So his coach Neil Hill might still be feeding him a lot of food, because he looks so huge right now, and not as lean as some of the other guys are at 10 weeks out mark. Just take a look at that rear lat spread and the width that he has, especially the width that he has been able to add in this offseason after this year's Arnold. I have to say that is extremely impressive stuff. So he is a legitimate top 10 Olympia competitor, because he has got the aesthetics, he has got the flow, he has got the shape for that, and he has always been one of the most beautiful physiques in the men's open class. And with the year that he took off and did not compete, that really paid off big time, as that allowed him to put on some decent size, which was lacking back in 2022 when he made his Olympia debut. So Rafael has been competing as a pro since 2017, and there is some similarity between him and Regan Grimes. Both have similar physiques, but at the same time both of them were kinda slow in putting on size throughout these years, and that is the biggest factor impacting their placings at a big show like the Olympia or the Arnold. So Rafael did put on some size in 2023 as well, but I have to say he still isn't at that level where Samson Dauda is, especially when we talk about pure thickness and freak factor. And that is why the judges put Rafael Brandao next to Samson Dauda in Ohio to see whether Rafael is ready to take that next step, ready to take it to the next level, and that means getting in that first call out at the Olympia stage. So based on what we saw from Brandao at this year's Arnold in Columbus, he isn't the first call out guy just yet, but who knows, he could have made some solid improvements in this offseason that started right after this year's Arnold Brazil. So do you guys see Rafael cracking top 7 at this year's Miss Olympia? Next up we have an off-season physique update of Ross Patrick, the California Pro Champion in 2023. So Ross made his Olympia debut last year, but he was unable to place. And by that I mean, he did not show up for the finals because of some health issues. So the decision of taking the whole year off in 2024, that was taken right after the Olympia last year, because Ross knew pretty damn well that in order for him to continue to improve his placings at the Olympia level, he needs to build up his upper body to match up to his lower half. I mean, that man has some of the best legs in the bodybuilding world right now, massive core sweep, but his upper body still needs a lot of work. So I don't know how far he can take his upper half to match with his legs, because if there is so much disparity at this point in his career, where he already had his first pro win and also made his Olympia debut, and not to mention he was able to beat a bunch of guys like Tony Burton, Beef Stew, Sergio Oliva Jr. So if he is at a point in his career where he has already been to the biggest bodybuilding stage in the world and his upper body is still behind, and that too by quite some margin, there is only one explanation. Those are his genetics, and that is genetically a weak body part. Of course we can expect to see some major improvements since he is taking this whole year completely off, but the question is, will that be enough? Now he certainly has the goods to make it to the Olympia stage every single year, and let's just appreciate his ability to come and shred it like nobody else can. So Toronto Pro 2023, where Ross plays behind Hassan Mustafa and Ian Valier, he was the most shred guy in that lineup, and both Hassan and Ian looked pretty damn good in that show. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.